Hello everyone, and welcome back for another episode of Loomian Legacy News Monthly. Last time we made one of these videos, the Loomian Legacy Christmas event was still going on, and PvP 2.0 wasn't even leaked yet. So much has happened in the month of February, so let's head straight into this episode. Welcome to episode 2 of Loomian Legacy News Monthly. And we will talk about the hot topics of this month. After that, we will be doing a Roamers tier list, ranking all of the Roamers in all of Loomian Legacy, and we will end this segment with Loomian Legacy Monthly Awards. So let's head to our first hot topic of the episode. Let's first talk about PvP 2.0. I am really excited about the PvP 2.0 update, because this will change Loomian Legacy PvP forever. Not only will this add so many new features, but they will add something called Dream Teams, which is basically like Pokemon Showdown on Roblox, which is awesome. There's so much potential with Dream Teams, and while you won't be able to gain rewards from it, you could showcase Loomians that you otherwise couldn't get before, which will really help PvP content creators like me. This update will also make PvP prep better, because PvP's biggest weakness was the PvP prep time. And while PvP 2.0 isn't out yet, PvP prep in Loomian Legacy has gotten a lot easier with the addition of a brand new TP chart. This TP chart changes the game, as now you don't have to worry about getting TPs in the wrong stats, as you can change them to whatever stat you want, which is awesome. And even better, they got rid of the Advanced Stat Viewer Game Pass, and it's replaced with a Game Pass that increases the number of TP points you get from battle, which means this TP chart is free to play, baby! This is an absolute dub update for our Llama Train Studios, and more updates to PvP will come in the future, which is extremely exciting if you are into Loomian Legacy PvP. Now, let's head into our next hot topic. Tales of Tanorio is another creature-catching game on Roblox, and it is one of the most hyped-up games in all of Roblox. The game was supposed to release last year, but delays have stalled its progress, and that pushed the release date back to February 17th of February. Despite that, the game was hyped up, so when Tales of Tanorio delayed the game right on its release date, people got upset. Like, really upset. It was getting so bad that the Tales of Tanorio dev team was getting death threats. Yes, death threats over a creature capturing game on Roblox. The reason why Tales of Tanorio was delayed was because during the final test to find last-minute bugs, the Tales of Tanorio developers experienced soft locks, which is some of the worst things you could ever experience when playing a game. So, I am happy that the game didn't release with the soft locks. Lucky HD, a former Loomian Legacy content creator, now works with Tales of Tanorio, and he has been getting constant backlash from the Loomian Legacy community, mainly because when Loomian Legacy did this with the Atlantic City Part 2 release, Lucky HD made this post on Twitter, and let's just say that post kind of came back and bit him in the butt. I may not be a big fan of Lucky HD, and while a part of me is satisfied with Lucky HD getting karma, on the other hand, this community gave him and the other TOT devs death threats, which is 5,000 steps way too far. Despite that, Tales of Tanorio released another release date a few days later, and the new release date was February 23rd. Unfortunately though, Tales of Tanorio delayed the game yet again, because Utopian, the main scripter for Tales of Tanorio, got hospitalized for health issues, which is just really unfortunate for him. People once again crapped on Tales of Tanorio and gave death threats to the Tales of Tanorio dev team yet again, which is absolutely sick when you consider the fact that someone is struggling with their own health. Even worse, people think Utopian was faking his health problems, which is just ridiculous when you consider the fact for anyone who has followed Tales of Tanorio for at least 5 minutes would know that Utopia has had health problems for a while now. Honestly, I feel really bad for the Tales of Tanorio dev team, as all they want to do is release a good game on Roblox. And I still believe that Tales of Tanorio is going to be one of the top games on Roblox. And for anyone who has given death threats to any of the Tales of Tanorio developers, you have lost all of my respect. Thankfully, Utopian is out of the hospital, which is really good news. I care more about Topia's health over a Roblox game getting released, so I hope him and the Tales of Tanorio dev team are doing alright. This segment was really rough to make, so hopefully the next segment will be a lot better to talk about. On a more light-hearted topic, let's talk about Speeder Sonic, one of the best Loomian Legacy content creators. He has made Loomian Legacy videos daily for over 3 years now, and is a respected figure in both the Loomian Legacy community and the Doodle World community. But something happened to his avatar in early February. When he was showcasing Thawmin, he noticed that he lost his head. Here's his clip.
Hello everybody, it's me, and welcome back to the video. Now, in this video, for some reason I'm headless. I don't know why I'm headless, but I just am. But today, we're going to be taking a look at totemizable Thawmin.
Ever since he has made this video, he has had no head on his avatar ever since. I don't know why Speeder lost his head on his avatar, but honestly, we need to get Speeder's head back in the game. Please, Loomian Legacy community, we must stand up to revive Speeder's head! I'm joking around, obviously, because Speeder can do whatever he wants with his avatar. But I won't lie, without his head, it does make his avatar look a little freak. But then again, other people might find a dude with a banana crown and a gecko shirt kind of freaky. So maybe I shouldn't be the one talking about people's avatars. But personally, the month of February for Loomian Legacy has been really good. We have had the Lunar New Year's event, which was fine, it was solid. And then we had the Yokai update, which added 4 new Loomians in the wild. And they also added the PvP chart, which is a huge dub. Overall, this month of Loomian Legacy gets an 8 out of 10. An alright start, but ended amazingly. Hopefully Tales of Tanorio can be released soon on Roblox because that game will be extremely lit. And that is Loomian Legacy News Monthly for the month of February. So let's head right into our next segment, which will be my Roamers Tier List. Hello everyone, and today we're going to be ranking all of the Loomian Legacy roamers in a tier list. So as you can see, this is my tier list. We have the amazing tier, the great tier, the good tier, the average tier, the meh tier, and the worst tier. So we're going to be ranking which roamer is the best and which one is the worst, and we have all of the recent roamers. So we have roamers from Duskin and Kazune, who is there from the beginning of the game, all the way to the very recent ones like Masx and Odiaga. So with that out of the way, let's get started on this roamers tier list. And Duskit is definitely a very interesting Loomian to start with, and I'm gonna go with the average tier of Duskit. And I know what everyone is saying, put Duskit in the meh. This definitely has potential to be the worst roamer, but I have my reasonings why it isn't the worst roamer. The biggest reason why is because it does have a lot of different move pools. I mean, you have the melee version with Outburst and Fadeaway, which can be pretty dangerous and also has priority. And you can use the ranged Peace of Mind Hypnotize version, and that can be very dangerous as well. And its secret ability can hit really hard if you use Poison Barb. So it is a decent roamer, but the problem is, since it is the worst roamer in the game, it's got power crept by all the other roamers. So unfortunately, Duskit is only average, but still. Considering that this is average is kind of insane. It just shows how good all the other roamers are. As for Kazune is great. It's a great roamer. It's fast, it hits hard, has Magnify. It even has Magnified Jolt, which is kind of insane to think about. And this thing has a pretty good defensive typing, only having 2 weaknesses. And it has great synergy with other Meta Loomians like Stratosaur. This Loomian is awesome. It's a fire type to get rid of icicle traps. And while it is quad weak to earth and water, it has pivot, it has fire breath to hit those plant types. It's a very good roamer. It's not amazing because, you know, it is kind of frail, but for the most part, Ikazune is a very good roamer, and it definitely deserves to be in the great tier. Alright, this is about to be controversial, guys. Protagon. Now, Protagon did just get a new move recently called Augment. And Augment is decent on Protagon. The problem is even that has gotten crept by Runcidor, because Runcidor has Pivot. Dorgo also has Augment, and has Pivot, making Protogon the worst out of the Augment Loomians. And that doesn't even mention that so many Loomians exploit their defenses. So they make their range defenses intentionally higher than their melee, so Protogon can't sweep their team. Because the thing is, when Protogon gets that +1 boost in the range side, it can sweep teams pretty easily. But even then, there's still a lot of walls that can beat this, like Metatoad and Chartiki. And even nowadays, it can just get wore down a lot easier. So, unfortunately, I'm going to have to put Protogon in the med tier. It's probably one of the worst roamers in Loomian Legacy right now. And maybe not the worst, but it's definitely down there. Because it gets exploited. And also, it just gets outclassed by other late game cleaners like Zulong, Hunder, Runcidor, and other Loomians. So yeah, Protogon isn't the best, so it has to be in the med tier. Dakuda is very interesting, because we're going to be ranking Dakuda and Soulburst Dakuda as one, because yeah, Soulburst Dakuda benefits from its normal Dakuda form, because normal Dakuda is melee, hits really hard, has good melee stab in Torrential Slash, and it has very good coverage. While the Soulburst Dakuda hits like a truck on the range side, the hardest hitting ranged attacker in all of Loomian Legacy. You do lose 20 speed, but it doesn't matter when you could just delete a Loomian. Yes, plant types do wall you, but you have Slapdown on the melee Dakuda, so even then that isn't a guarantee swap in for plant types. So together they work really well, because Soulburst Dakuda gets hidden very well by normal Dakuda, and normal Dakuda is pretty good in its own right. These can usually be ran with Power Focus and Boots and Bulk Up, and yeah, overall, Dakuda is a very good roamer. It's gotta be in the great tier. It's definitely a very good roamer right there. Mutagon's interesting because Mutagon is one of those Loomians that, you know, Mutagon would, in the past, would probably be the best roamer in all of Loomian Legacy, but it did just lose Quick Punch, so it is probably not the best roamer anymore, but it is still an amazing roamer. With Rom Boost, it hits really, really hard. You have Mega Punch and Telekinetic Sweep. And now that you actually dropped Quick Punch, that opens up Frost Punch, meaning you can actually hit Air type super effectively now. Not to mention, with the tank ability, this thing is really bulky. You can run Rageful Plushie Tank and get up to +4 in one attack. You can run Nimble to get some more speed. You can run Boots Mutagon, and that can be scary. There's a lot of different ways you can actually run Mutagon. Not to mention that one of the meta Loomians in the meta is your stack. You can use Mutagon with Baffle and utilize that to its fullest potential still. So even though this Loomian's lost Quick Punch, I still think it's an amazing Loomian. I don't think it's the best roamer in all of Loomian Legacy, but it's definitely up there. It's a very solid roamer. Now we've gotten into Cephalops, the biggest fraud in all of Loomian Legacy. This is not an Uber. This is not an Uber. This is just... I don't even think this is even OU. Now, this Loomian is fun. You have Soul Drain. You have amazing Bolt. And also you have solid moves. I mean, you have Icicle Trap. You have Hypnotize. Soul Drain's good for draining HP. Like, Cephalops has some good stuff. And the Dark Water offensive typing works very well with a certain Loomian named Landforge. Now, the biggest problem with Cephalops is it has no setup. And even though it has great bulk, so it can utilize Rageful Plushie, it's very hard to use this thing most of the time. And a lot of Loomians can hit Cephalops super effectively. And while I do think it is a fraud and shouldn't be an Uber, I don't think it makes him fall that much into the average of Masx. Is it great? Is it better than Ica or Dakuda? I don't know. It's pretty close, honestly. But I'm gonna stick with my gut and put it in a good tier. It's a good roamer. It's probably one of the most drain dead roamers because, you know, you click Soul Drain, you gain HP back. This is probably the easiest roamer to use, but its ceiling really isn't that high, at least compared to the other roamers that are above it. So, unfortunately, Cephalops is only in the good tier. I can see a lot of people hating this because this is an Uber and shouldn't be allowed in competitive play. I don't think it's even that. I don't even think it's really even good at OU. That's just my opinion. Everyone has different opinions, so I think Cephalops is a fraud, so it's only in the good tier. Now, we are going into Elephage. I mean, Elephage isn't bad, but you're comparing Elephage to some of the other roamers. Like, it's fast, it has 110 speed, and it has double pivot, which is good. And you can also run Drop of Youth with this, which can be very good. It can be a better overall tank over Phage Knot. But other than that, why wouldn't you just use Phage Knot? Not to mention that Protagon outspeeds it. You also have Mutagon who can set up and is very bulky. You have Cephalops with Soul Drain. You have Pivot with Duskin. So there are other options to use over Elephant. While Elephant is good, I think Phage Knot is just better, which going into Phage Knot, you're great. Phage Knot is a great roamer. And the reason why Phage Knot is great is because it has double pivot, it has teardown to get rid of hazards, and has a very good secret ability, which makes it an offensive wall breaker with Jolt. It can run Priority, it can run Rant to deal with plant types. It has Provoke as well, meaning that I know what you're all thinking. Wow, Gas Stroke walls Phage Knot. But guess what Phage Knot can do to that Gas Stroke? Provoke it, and then if you run, like, Rant, you can actually gradually beat down a Gas Stroke after 2 years. So, that is, I'm just bringing that out there. Not everyone runs that set, and probably no Phage Knot would ever run that, but hey, if you're really struggling against Gas Stroke, that is definitely an option to run. So it isn't even completely walled by plant types neither. Now, of course, it does suffer from 4-move syndrome because of it, and that's why it's not in the amazing tier, but it has great bulk, pretty good speed stat, one of the highest hitting ranged attacks in all of Loomian Legacy. Overall, just a great balanced Looming that can pretty much do anything. That's why it's in the great tier. Arceros is debating either good or average with Arceros. I think I'm going to go with good. And the reason why I'm going with good over average is because Boiling Press. Boiling Press can actually hit water types. And this is actually one of those fire types. It's a melee fire type that has great melee pull. There aren't many fire types that are like that. It is a one-of-a-kind fire type because it has a pretty good speed stat and great melee pull. Other fire types that have melee pull are either slow or don't hit hard. Not Arceros. Plus, this Loomian can set enchantments. It can also use Burn Up to get rid of hazards. There's actually a lot with Arceros, even though it isn't the best. There actually is a lot to it, and this thing can definitely surprise some Loomians. And 91 speed definitely helps it out as well. So that's why Arceros is in the good tier and not in the average. Glacedia, I mean, it's a top 3 Loomian in all of Loomian Legacy. This thing is just nuts. This hits so hard. There aren't many Loomians that can wall it, and while in theory every metal type can wall it, not many metal types have good range defense. So, yeah. This thing is probably one of the best Loomians in all of Loomian Legacy. So, yeah, Glacedia is in the amazing tier. Novadius, alright, this is going to be a very controversial topic. Where does Novadius belong on the list? So, first of all, Glacedia is a better Loomian than Novadius at the moment. So, we're going to get that out of the picture now. But, does that make Novadius worse because Glacedia is better? And you know what? I'm going to cave in, as you know what? Novadius is one of the worst roamers in all of Loomian Legacy. I'm serious. And I'm seriously joking because it's amazing. It's the best mixed attacker in all of Loomian Legacy. And those metal types that Glacedia couldn't hit before, you have fire type attacks which hits them super effectively. The reason why Glacedia is better at the moment though is because a lot of the metal types that you hit super effectively with fire type attacks, Glacedia can actually hit neutrally, which, yeah, you can actually hit neutrally with Oxydrake with, you know, Draco Beam, you can hit Stratosaur neutrally with Frost Beam, and even the other metal types that wall this, you don't hit super effectively with this, like Seer Knight and Valkyrie, but still, this thing is awesome. It's the best mixed attacker in all of Loomian Legacy. Still has a pretty good speed stat. Its bulk is decent, not as good as Glacedia's, but still has pretty good bulk. And the fact that it can hit extremely hard on both sides makes this one of the most dangerous Loomians to face in all of Loomian Legacy. So yeah, Novadius is amazing. And even though it is worse than Glacedia, it is still an amazing Loomian that has its perks over Glacedia. And that's why it's in the amazing tier. Now, we got Metronet. Well, Metronet and Soulburst Metronet, we know where these go. Now, I know a lot of people think that Soulburst Metronet isn't that good, and I can see that considering it does lose a lot of utility. But the thing that really helps with Soulburst Metronet is that the normal Metronet is so OP, you don't know if you're going to go up against a Soulburst Metronet until it's Soulburst. And the thing is, once the Soulburst Metronet uses its Soulburst, it usually has a peace of mind or two already. Meaning that once it's Soulburst, there is a pretty good chance this Metronet's going to sweep you. And even if you don't use the demanding Metronet with secret ability, you have Mysterious Cloak, which is amazing. You're immune to hazard. You can hypnotize Peace of Mind and just be annoying. You only have 2 weaknesses. You have very good offensive pressure with Dark Mind Stab and Pyrokinesis coverage. You can use Splitting Headache with Volcanic Ash and stun melee attackers. There's so many different ways you can actually run Metronet. It's an uber Loomian. This is an uber-worthy Loomian right here. It definitely deserves to be an amazing tier, and Soulburst Metronet definitely belongs up here as well. And while it isn't as good as the normal Metronet form, it benefits because normal Metronet is so good. So, yep, they're both in the amazing tier together. Now we have Wblas. Now, Wblas is very interesting because there is a meta Loomian that does outclass Wblas at the moment. And I said at the moment because there are some benefits that Wblas has over it. There's Gargoylem Defense Form. That thing is insanely OP and probably one of the best Loomians in all of Loomian Legacy. So, yeah, that does drop Wblas a little bit more than usual. But I still think Wblas is a great roamer, and the reason is why, because this actually has a lot of perks. It's an ice type, meaning that it is actually immune to icicle traps, and you're not quad weak to it, unlike Gargoylem Defense Form. And just like Gargoylem Defense Form, you have Barbs, icicle traps, and Driving Force. And what makes Wblas even better is its ability. The Ignorant ability makes it so if a Loomian is up to like +2 or +3 attack, it won't be able to beat your Wblas because it pretty much gets rid. Ignorant is so good, like it stops setup sweeping, which is awesome. And then you can Driving Force them out, and then you're in a great matchup for the rest of the battle. This thing also has Luster Loot, so it does have more reliable healing compared to Gargoylem Defense Form. But the reason why Gargoylem Defense Form is so good is because it's just overall more consistent, and its defensive typing's a lot better than Wblas. And also, Wblas Pure Ice just isn't the best defensive typing. Although, Pure Ice can definitely be played with Wblas, so that is something I do want to mention. You can combine Wblas and Wblas, and both of them are really good together. But yeah, while it's not amazing, I still think it's a great roamer that definitely has some benefits. And I can see it move up into amazing once Gargoylem Defense Form, you know, loses a bit in the meta. It just depends on how the meta shifts. Now we got Nimue. It's good. Now the thing is with Nimue is that it doesn't have a good offensive typing. I mean, Light Air is really bad offensively, but it hits hard, has a good speed stat, and has solid range defense. Has healing, has Hypnotize, has Peace of Mind. This thing's really good and very reliable. And you can use Flash and Flee to pivot out a bad matchup, so honestly, Nimue is still a good roamer, even with that bad offensive typing. And defensively, it works pretty well as well, because it's immune to Spirit and immune to Earth, which helps a lot. So yeah, Nimue is definitely a good roamer. It could definitely be up in the great tier as well, but personally, I think it's only good. Incandescent, though, does make it hit pretty hard, so you do gotta be kind of careful with this. Now we're into the Cosmere forms, and Cosmere Meatball is good. While Cosmere Meatball doesn't have much offensive pressure, it's pretty easy to get setups on this, and it's probably one of the best Bane of Haste Loomians in all of Loomian Legacy, so this thing's really good. You can set up Peace of Mind, you could go for a Bane of Haste, hit decently hard after a couple Peace of Minds, and then slumber the HP back. This Loomian is very hard to beat if you don't have anything that has like Driving Force, so I do want to mention that. Although, even though it doesn't hit hard, it's very hard to break down, and that's why Meatball is good. As for Cracked Form is great. It's a great Loomian. It's basically the combination of Unleash and Meatball, but it's pretty much the perfect package. This thing is so good. You can use Raidful Plushie, it has a decent speed stat, has great bulk on both sides, and it has the Cosmere move pool, which is awesome. And while these Loomians are walled by metal types, these Loomians are still very good. And then we have Unleash, which is the best out of all the Cosmere forms because of Surrogate. You can steal an OP ability, and you can be very dangerous. Appetite Cosmere, Spec Muir, Rev Up Muir. There's so many different abilities that you can make. You can even use Do or Die with this, and this thing would hit very hard. You can use Wise to hit metal types. You can use Overshadow to hit metal types. Like, there's a lot of options you can use with Cosmere Unleash. It's definitely the perfect teammate. So, it's an amazing roamer. I do think it's the low end of the amazing tier, but still. I think Unleash form definitely belongs up here. Now we got Nevermare. Oh, where do I put Nevermare? Oh, where do I put Nevermare? Oh, I'm debating either good or great. And the reason why I'm debating that is because Nevermare offensively, honestly, isn't great. You need a piece of mind, not a piece of mind, you need a bulk up, and then you need a crit with your ability to actually be good. But there is one thing I have noticed as of late. Nevermare actually has decent bulk on both sides. So if you click bulk up and then get hit by a super effective move, you can run a thing called Rageful Plushie. And you can get up to +3 melee attack in 1 turn. And with 111 speed, you can outspeed a lot of the game in the late game. That by itself gives it great potential. It also has a decent defensive typing, it has Provoke, has a lot of moves it can run. So, it's a very good Loomian, and even though I don't think it's as good as all the other great Loomians, it definitely belongs up there. The fact that it can run Grateful Plushie after a bulk up and get to +3 is definitely enough to one-shot most Loomians, because this Loomian has a pretty good offensive typing. So yeah, Nevermare is in the great tier. Now we got Akalos. Just like with the other Loomians, it's also in the great tier. Drudge is amazing. After one Drudge, you outspeed everything in the entire game, and this Loomian does so much. This is probably the most balanced Loomian in all of Loomian Legacy. Its stats are great at everything. It has Driving Force, it has Soft Water to get HP back. You have Drudge to be a late game cleaner. You have Brawn Boost to be a wall breaker. You have Gnarly Gas to hit Luminami. You have Rogue Assault to hit Conjurlin. There's so many different moves. And also, Ice Water is very good. And when you combine that with Dark Brawler coverage, this Loomian is really good. I'm even debating about adding it in the Amazing tier, but I don't think it's quite up to par to the Loomians at the top. So I think Akalos is a great Loomian. It's a great roamer. Now, let's get into the Gargolem form. So there's the Gargolem base form, which is just average. I don't think it's as bad as it used to be. I actually gained a little bit of appreciation to Gargolem base. I used it recently, and it actually did pretty well. The thing is, even though this is the worst Gargolem form, it still has all the moves that all the Gargolems have. So, yeah, it still has all the Gargolem move pool. So, yeah, it's still a solid Loomian, even though it is the worst out of the Gargolems. Now we got Attack Form, which is in the great tier. This thing is the ultimate wall-breaking machine, so nothing else to say. It is very frail though, so it does hold it back a little bit, but it has a pretty good speed stat, and with the Master ability, you can snowball damage, which makes this thing really tough to beat. Defense form, it's the best out of the Gargolem forms. I mean, it's a top 5 Loomian in the meta right now, so nothing else to really say. You place up barbs, you driving spores, you soak statuses. This thing is so good. You can even get rid of hazards yourself. This thing is that good. We got Gargolem Speed, which is a very good suicide lead. Which, I don't know though. Is a good suicide lead worth a roamer spot? I guess it is. It's definitely really good. It's the fastest Loomian in all of Loomian Legacy. And just like the other Gargolem forms, this has all the Gargolems moves, so you can run this with pretty much anything, and it can be very good. So yeah, it definitely belongs in the good tier. Now, in my last list, I ranked Celesting as the worst roamer, but my opinions have changed quite a bit. I don't think it's in the amazing tier or in the great tier, but I honestly think it's definitely a solid roamer that can be pretty scary under certain circumstances. Summon is very unique. Its secret ability is really good. The fact that you can use another move if hit by a contact move is pretty OP, honestly. And even if it's a random dice, you can manipulate the move summon, so you can guarantee summon a move. I mean, I showed that with my 29 energy rejuvenate. So, is that enough to put it in a good tier, though? I think it is. It has Flash and Flee pivot, and even though its offensive typing is kind of garbage, it can place barbs, it can pivot out, has summon, has a pretty good secret ability. I think it's worth putting it in the good tier. I think it is the worst out of all the good tier Loomians, but still, I think it's a pretty solid roamer. Odiaga, great. I mean, it's not amazing, but it's better than good. This thing is awesome. There's so many different ways you could run Odiaga. This thing is fantastic. I've used this Loomian a ton, and it always does the job. And while it's never the Loomian that stars on my team, it's the Loomian that holds my team together. There's so many ways you can run it. You can run a Scapegoat set, you can run a Wall Breaking set, you can run a Peace of Mind setup set, you can run a Gust set to get rid of Hazard, Provoke set to be a Stall Breaker, There's so many different ways to run this Loomian, and it definitely deserves to be in the great tier. And then we got my Masx. My Masx is great as well. It's fast, has pivot, and the Masx swap ability is very good. And that ability can be very good to get a good trap. So I do think it's the worst out of all the great tier ones, but I still think it's good enough to be in the great tier. I don't think it's quite as bad as the Loomians in the good tier. So yeah, that is my roamers tier list. Who is the worst roamer in all of Loomian Legacy, and who's the best roamer? Let's do the worst one first, because honestly, I'm very close with this one. I don't know if I should go with Elephage or if I should go for Protagon. I feel kind of wrong counting Elephage on the list because it is kind of a pre-evolved form to Tigon, but I actually think Elephage is better than Protagon. And the reason is why is because of all the support moves it has. It still has Phage Dot's moves. It can run Teardown. It can use Drop of Youth. It has a healing move. It has a pretty good secret ability in Replicate, and it can utilize it better than Protagon. And so yeah, I honestly think Elephage is actually better than Protagon, and unfortunately that means Protagon is the worst roamer in all of Loomian Legacy. I know it feels kind of wrong, and a lot of people are going to hate me for this, but I honestly think Protagon is the roamer that struggles the most right now. So yeah, the worst roamer in all of Loomian Legacy. Now, let's get to the best roamer, and this one's close. There's a lot of options. Glaciadia can be there, Metronet can be there, and Gargolem Defense Form can be there. If I were to rank these, I think Novadius would be 4, then Mutagon, then I'll do Cosmere, Mutagon, then Soulburst Metro. That would be what I do there. So, out of these three, which one is the best roamer out of these three? It's hard because Metronet is an uber, but is Metronet better than Gargolem Defense Form and Glaciadia? It could definitely be after a Hypnotize, though. A Hypnotize in a setup is so good. It's so close. I don't know which one to pick. I think I'm gonna pick... I think it's between Glaciadia and Defense Form. It's between these two. And I think I'm gonna go with Glaciadia. The reason why I'm going with Glaciadia, it can place Icicle Traps, hits so hard, can set up with Peace of Mind, and has the very powerful Draco Beam. Gargolem Defense Form is very close. It could definitely be up there as well. And honestly, in a future update, Gargolem Defense Form might be the best roamer over Glaciadia. It depends if they add a range metal type, range defensive metal type. But as of now, I think Glaciadia is the best roamer in all of Loomian Legacy. And here is my roamers tier list. Let's head into the next segment. Welcome to Loomian Legacy Monthly Awards, and just like last month, we have 4 awards that we're going to give. So the first award we're going to give is the Loomian of the Month for February. And we had 5 Loomians that could offer for a Loomian of the Month. We had Protagon and Dorgo for their Augment move, Sea Drake for its awesome reskin during the Lunar New Year's, Duskit for changing the Harmonize to 100% chance, which is awesome, and for Cleone because Cleone has carried me in PvP this year. And the winner of Loomian of the Month for February is Duskit, with a whopping 83%. Yep, Harmonize changing to a 100% chance is amazing, and it gets rid of all the RNG from the past, which is awesome. Amazing for hunters. Congratulations, Duskit. Now, the next award we're going to give out is the Loomian Legacy Video of the Month. And the videos that are down below are the top 20 PvP Loomians made by CEO, the Journey of Gamma Ignial made by Successful Arts, ranking every single event Loomian made by Speeder Sonic, everything you need to know about PvP 2.0 made by Jamie, and asking out LL content creators for Valentine's Day made by Obsidian Rock. And overall, it was pretty close, but the video of the month went to Top 20 PvP Loomians made by Cotton Stoops. Personally, I would have picked the Journey of Gamma Ignial made by Successful Arts, considering the fact he's been hunting for that Loomian for a long time, but I'll take it. That's another Top 20 PvP Loomians video winning the Loomian Legacy Video of the Month. Now, the next one. In y'all opinion, who do y'all think wins LL Content Creator of the Month? We have Successful Arts, who's an awesome YouTuber that got his Gamma Ignial. Jamie, he's just the GOAT and uploaded a lot this month, so he counts for this list. CVO, you know, one of the best PvP YouTube channels right now. We got Speeder Sonic, who won LL Content Creator for the Month for last month, and I Eat For Your Face. I didn't want to add myself on the list, so I added I Eat Your Face, and unfortunately, he had only 3%. But the winner for LL Content Creator of the Month was pretty close, but Speeder Sonic wins it again. He won LL Content Creator for the Month for both January and February. Even without a head on his avatar, Speeder can still win Content Creator of the Month. He's just that goated. But now, we have what all y'all been waiting for. The best segment of the video. LOL Cow of the Month. We have 3 options for LOL Cow of the Month. We have Speeder's avatar. His Roblox avatar lacks a head. Yes, I added his avatar to LOL Cow of the Month. The second option is Metronet Soulburst. These literally broke the game at the start of February, and it was bad. Here's a clip of it. So, yeah, Metronet Soulburst were broken, so they're on this list. And the final thing is the TP reset. These things were awful for PvP prep, and they were literally wiped altogether once the new TP chart came in Loomian Legacy. So, the winner of LOL Cow of the Month is the TP resets. I am so happy that the TP resets got 83% of the vote, because they are obviously LOL Cows of the Month, and they have been completely wiped from the game altogether. Congratulations, TP resets. Y'all have been deleted from the game, and no one will ever miss y'all. So there it is, the Loomian Legacy Monthly Awards. I hope you guys enjoyed this video of me talking about the hot topics from the month of February. Another video will come out a month later talking about what happens with March. And hopefully I'm going to talk about some Tales of Tanorio content as well once that game comes out. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see y'all all later. Bye-bye!